Rob, thank you very much for inviting us down. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, obviously, first goes to say that I've been to quite a few of your events now, and just wanted to say thank you, because there's a lot of things for the Money Matrix events that I've taken in my own business and implemented stuff. So yeah, thank you. And
my pleasure.
Appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brilliant. So obviously you've done hundreds of podcasts now talking about how you've got into stuff and how you got into property and mentoring and everything else. And I just want to do something a little bit different and talk to you maybe about some of the things that are going on in the world. Obviously massive on freedom of speech and, you know, cancelling culture, and it's very rife now. When did you first come across cancel culture? What part in your life did you first experience somebody trying to cancel what you were saying?
Oh, well, pretty much as soon as I opened my mouth when I started a business. Because it depends how you define cancel culture. But the way I first experienced it was defamation. So in the early days of running a property training business, you know, you would have competitors that would set up fake accounts and become trolls. Back then, it wasn't really, it's illegal now to set up a fake profile and be a troll. Yeah. Whereas it kind of, you could just get away with it. They could get away with it back then. So, you know, when people defame you, which is tell lies about you to discredit you, to damage your business. And the laws around trolling needed to tighten. And my first experience was just commercial, i.e. people would make up stuff about us. And when you had a good forensic internet person, they usually found the IP address and, oh, lo and behold, it's a competitor or someone who, you know, someone who's disgruntled. Of course, that's got a lot more serious now, trolling, because people, they resort to suicide because of it. So I knew via the internet, I didn't know her face to face, but we'd message a fair bit, Caroline Flack, and, you know, she committed suicide. And I think a lot of that was because of the online hate. And, you know, that people just always get away with that. And so then I saw it kind of with my own eyes of someone I knew. And then after lockdown, it seemed that if you talked about subjects that either mainstream media or social media or whoever's controlling those, if they didn't like your narrative, then they would quietly cancel you. Sometimes it's worse to be quietly cancelled. Why is nothing that I'm posting getting any reach?
It's very interesting, that, isn't it? Because I find that quite a lot. If you say something that's, we'll say, outspoken on LinkedIn, doesn't tend to do as well as something that follows the narrative.
Yeah, and this is nuanced and contextual, which is why I quite like doing podcasts. I have to manage how many I do, but it just means we can go into the weeds of it. Yeah, and because usually actually the answer is it depends. What can happen on LinkedIn is you're just not posting content that the algorithm likes. Yeah. And you're banging the desk going, oh, they're cancelling me, they're shadow banning me, when in reality they're not. They just have their algorithm. Yeah. And you know, if you look at algorithms, the algorithm on X seems to reward you for quite right-leaning posts. The algorithm on LinkedIn seems to reward you for quite left-leaning posts. So you've got the left-leaning and the right-leaning social media channels. Yeah. So, you know, I don't like all the vitriol and the hatred that's on X, but I will be a bit more blunt and extreme on X than on LinkedIn. Yeah. Although I do like to attack woke thinking on LinkedIn, because that usually does quite well. So, look, I understand if I'm on YouTube and I can use YouTube for free and I can make millions of pounds a year from YouTube using it for free and not paying Alphabet, who own YouTube, any commissions and all the money I make. You know, if you invite me to your living room, I should take my shoes off. And I shouldn't go for a piss on your rug. I should ask if I can use your bathroom. It's your living room. I should be respectful.
Yeah.
So I get the paradox. Yeah. And a lot of people are moaning about being banned or shadow banned or cancelled, and they're not. No. They just don't they just haven't figured out what works on the algorithm.
Yeah.
However, if you're Andrew Tate, you clearly have been banned everywhere. And when I've interviewed certain guests like Andrew Tate and David Icke, no doubt we have hardcore had shadow banning because you get strikes.
Yeah.
And when you go into your back end analytics, it's like strike, 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 and it's there to see. So, and then in terms of, you asked when did I first experience cancel culture? Defamation, which was commercial, trolling, which turns into hatred, which turns into people committing suicide, lockdown, and then suppression on talking about, you couldn't even say the word vaccine on YouTube. Kelsey might have to beep it out. So there's clearly something there. And now what's gone on with Charlie Kirk and, all these, this big march in London, it's gone to another level where some people are getting cancel culture to Charlie Kirk was getting assassinated in front of his wife and his children,
which is just disgusting.
And it is, and we should take a moment to remember the humanity part of this. But then it raises some really interesting paradoxes and moral dilemmas. So, people celebrating on social media Charlie Kirk's assassination, how should they be dealt with?
Yeah.
Because, the people on the right are saying we should have free speech and we should be able to say what we want. And now some people on the left are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death.
Yeah.
What is that? I actually don't know. I think here's an interesting thing. I think that anyone who celebrates someone else's death, I think that's disgraceful.
Yeah.
But I said this to someone, and they said, but would you celebrate Hitler's death? And I thought, good question. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
And you need to have good discourse. You need to listen to both sides. So 99% of people who celebrate someone's death, really you should only celebrate the death of someone who's committing mass genocide.
Yeah.
But going on social media and celebrating because a 31-year-old Christian of 2 young children got assassinated, at best you disgust us.
Yeah.
And if people in the UK are being imprisoned for social media posts, which are vitriolic, but then why aren't these people being put in prison? But then maybe they will be, because there's a big backlash in America on this. And here we are now, cancel culture, 2025, 2026. I mean, it's a mad world.
It's crazy. And it's dead interesting that you just said that. So obviously we've got people that are, being arrested for social media posts, but then is it Bob Dylan or something? Not Bob Dylan. The
Villain.
Guy, Bob Villain, he's been on, shouting and screaming at one of his gigs the other day, saying Charlie Kirk's a piece of shit and he deserved what he got and this, that and the other. If somebody went on Facebook now and said, you're a dickhead, you could be arrested. But then there's people like that who are a totally extreme end of that. Nothing's happening. Obviously, he's been banned in America and different countries and stuff, but physically nothing has happened to him.
Well, not yet. It happened very recently. So it's Bob Villain. And I believe he said that Charlie Kirk's pronouns are were, which is disgracefully distasteful. Does he deserve to go to prison for that? I'm not sure.
No.
It is a difficult one. And then he whooped up the crowd and said he's a piece of shit. And then he came on afterwards. I commented on his post because he came on and said, I'm not celebrating it. Prove where I've celebrated it. But he looked so apathetic. He looked like he didn't care. And I just thought, I don't know, personally, I wouldn't put him in prison for that. But I would disengage with him, probably ban him from a load of places I could ban him from. But I could understand why someone would say, no, Rob, he has to go to prison. You have to make an example. You can't do that. I get that. But then if you do that on that side, you have to do it on the other side as well. And you can't be one rule for you, one rule for them.
Yeah,
but I think I think the problems at the moment in the world go way beyond social media and they go way beyond trolling. We've forgotten our humanity.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's say I'm trying to think of some Keir Starmer, right? So Keir Starmer is someone who I probably have less in common with than, that's why I just thought of that person. But I would not want him to get shot. I definitely wouldn't want him to get shot in front of his family. And I like to think I would be kind and empathetic if he was assassinated. And he's someone I feel like I have virtually nothing in common with, I feel like he's kind of ruining my fucking country.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to go and celebrate his assassination. No one should get assassinated for having an opinion.
No.
But people always have been. This is not new.
Yeah.
You know, people are calling the Charlie Kirk thing a sort of like a JFK moment. This is not new.
No.
And this is the risk you take. And I have 4 million followers and I'm quite outspoken. And I have a family. And it makes you think, you know, but we need to remember our humanity. I might not agree with you, but you're going through some shit. Just like I'm going through some shit. And think about this. Like, someone do the research, maybe stick it in the comments. What are the odds of you being born? Because apparently it's something like 4 billion or whatever to 1. What are the odds of you, me, and Kelsey there and everyone watching and listening being born at the same time in the infinite history of time? Time had no start, time has no end, time is infinite. What are the odds of us all being born at the same time? In 80 years, we'll all be dead. What are the odds? Billions to 1. Why are we fucking shooting each other over opinions?
Yeah.
Like, I should be kind to you, I should be kind to you. We should be nice to each other.
Yeah.
All right, if you piss me off, I'm going to tell you. But like, that's as far as it goes. Back off. That's, you know, back the fuck up. But that's it. But like, what are we doing as humanity? We're supposed to be the most intelligent. We're stupid.
Yeah.
Whales don't do this to each other. Crabs don't do this to each other. At least with a crab, you know what you're getting. You've got some claws. Yeah, you're going to get pinched. But hey, look, I've got a strong exterior. So as humanity, we're fucking everything up.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've forgotten how to deal with people, like, and I think why people think it's such a bad thing is they're almost scaring people from having an opinion. People will, before anybody goes now to speak at university, the effect of that is they will be afraid to say something that will have mixed opinions.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting suppressed.
Yeah.
But that's why it's more important for people like you and I know many other creators feel like it's really important to speak out.
Yeah.
I won't stop.
Yeah.
One thing I've realised though is I've got to remember what's my mission and message.
Yeah, what's the
direction? Because it's, you know, if you go on X, a lot of people are building a profile just slagging everyone off.
Yeah.
The algorithm will reward you for that. And in the end, someone just building a brand of being a slagger offer. I don't want to build that brand.
No.
My brand is to help as many people on this planet get better financial knowledge. So most of my slaggery is about the economy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you've got to remember your brand. I think what is also big time to blame for this is social media. Now, to blame for this is humanity.
Yeah.
Humanity created social media. But what social media has done is, one, the algorithms reward us for extreme human behaviors.
Yeah.
But also, it makes us behave with, you know when you've had a few drinks and they call it Dutch courage, don't they? And you're up for a bit of anything. Well, you know, if you're pissed off and lonely in your pants on a keyboard, you're probably up for a trolling.
Yeah.
But if I bump into you in the street,
you'll shit your pants.
Well, I will, yeah. You're stronger than me. You've got these tattoos. You've got a six-pack on your face. I'm not fucking trolling you. I'm not going to disrespect you. So this is the problem. We've got this protective window. I love seeing those videos where people are having a bit of road rage and then they stop. And then a hard bastard gets out. Oh, sorry, Dave. No.
Have you seen the one where the guy pulls in the van on the M6 and he pulls up in front of the car and goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And the passenger just looks him dead in the eye and starts laughing his head off.
Really? No, I haven't seen that.
But then the bloke ends up started laughing.
Right.
The bloke who came over and then his van's literally pulled in front of the car on the motorway. The passenger looks him dead in the eye, starts absolutely howling at him, but then he starts laughing.
Right. Well,
so
that's
it's completely
nice.
debunked the situation.
Yeah, but this is the problem. We've got this little protection of, a little bedroom on the internet. Yeah. And I don't know what percentage of trolls don't even have their own profile picture, but it must be like 90% plus. Yeah. So, a rule for me is if you don't even have a picture, well, I'm not going to take you seriously. Yeah. But, I like to think, if I met you face to face, would all of our social media interactions, how would I feel about that? I knew I was meeting you today and we've had some interaction online. I feel very comfortable. Yeah. Whereas if I'd been trolling you like some trolly wanker and I'm meeting you today, I'd be shitting myself. But so people should remember this. 100%. Treat people online like you would face to face. And, whether you agreed with Charlie Kirk or not, I respect anyone's right to disagree. But he would have a good, solid debate. Yeah. And he wouldn't descend into just... You can always tell when people start descending into criticising how you look. Yeah. It means they've got no argument.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you understand. Oh, look at all your fucking tattoos.
Yeah. Well, then you've lost the argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I always think like internet trolls, and I get people in the comments all the time who, you could post the nicest thing on socials, you will still get one person around the world commenting that you're a fucking idiot or whatever it may be. And I genuinely now, I used to get really annoyed about them comments, but now I look at it and I genuinely feel sorry for those people, because if you have the time to go on social media and give somebody shit who you've never met in your life, then your life must be really, really sad. So I will always comment back now and just say, thank you very much for increasing my engagement. I hope you're okay. And you will get battered with comments, and because it'll just wind them up. He's probably sat at home in his mum's living room, covered in Doritos dust on his mum's iPad. Do you know what I mean? It's no life. And I genuinely feel sorry for people like that now.
Yeah. Well, having been doing this for 20 years and having my fair share of haters, what I've learned is that... often hate is just jealousy. Yeah. It's often an unconscious acknowledgement that they have regrets about how they've lived their own life. But here's something to remember, and it's important. I want a message to be in this episode. We must remember empathy and humanity. Sometimes people are trolling and hating on you because they're going through some shit in their own life. And, in your area, as ex-forces, sometimes... the pain we're in manifests in a very difficult way. Yeah. And sometimes because I'm quite triggering, so I accept that. The biggest compliment I take is when people say, Rob, I didn't really like you at first, but you grew on me. That I actually like that the most. Yeah. Because, I'm supposed to be interrupting your life to help you change. But, I've had fun in the comments, and I like winding people up. But sometimes you just got to go, do you know what? I'm here if you need a chat. Genuinely. Because sometimes people are really just struggling and they don't know how to deal with it. Yeah. And, suicide in men is something like 3 times as what it is in women. There's a big sort of kind of war and confusion on masculinity and what that is. Since lockdown, loneliness is the real epidemic. Imagine being in... How old are you?
32.
Okay, so imagine being in your early 20s and dating now. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Tinder.
Yeah, well, no.
You wouldn't.
But you don't know where to start. So, being in your 20s is, in some ways, it's easier than it was for me. But life is not easy at the moment. There is a national and global, lower frequency. Yeah. There's a lower mood.
Low is acceptable now.
It's just lower. Yeah. Think about, weirdly, one of the best places to be in the world in summer is the UK. Why? Because any day of sun in the UK was like, oh, hey, we got sun. You're getting naked. Well, let's have it. In your leopard thong. Yeah. and the mood in the UK, even when it's just a really nice day, goes up like that. But we need more of that, because the global mood is this. There's a lot of wars going on. Now, there's always been wars, but we never knew of wars in foreign lands because we didn't have social media. Yeah. And now, imagine being a politician. I've criticised my fair share of politicians. Bloody hard job, bloody underpaid. Anything you do, thousands of people hate you in the comments. And some politicians get assassinated or knifed. So everything's harder. Everyone is just a lower... There's anger. Yeah. And I want to try and help change that.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, that most of that is massively built up from what people see daily scrolling. Is that sort of like I've got a mate of mine there. He will ring me at least once a week. Oh my God, have you seen that on the fucking news?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, mate, just stop watching it.
Yeah.
Like you know, where it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. You've let that, and he said, oh, fucking Putin's going to press the button, and I was like, you've let that consume your whole day.
Yeah.
And like, what have you productive wise, what have you got done today? Because all you've been thinking about is that. So just stop watching it.
Well, do you know what? A great rule for life is, if at some point on social media you get triggered to the point where it reduces your mood, just get off it.
Yeah.
Get off it.
Yeah.
Now, I do 99% work on social media.
Yeah.
So I don't just doom scroll. I occasionally relax and scroll a bit. But even then, I'm looking at content and thinking about how I can improve my own content.
Yeah. You're either a creator or a consumer.
Yeah.
Is what I say to people.
Yeah,
like,
producer, consumer. And in this world, producers win and make money, and consumers are making rich people even richer.
Yeah.
But great rule for life is, as soon as you feel your mood drop, thanks to social media, get off it. Go for a walk. Go cuddle your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like Ant Middleton, I think if
He's coming back on my show.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I'm friends with Ant, yeah.
Amazing.
He's running for mayor.
Yeah, and I think that if I want him to get mayor of London more than anything, but will it ever happen? Do you think it will ever happen? Only because I think we'll call it the establishment, would they want somebody like that in power?
Okay, so politics is significantly more complicated than most people understand. Even people who think they understand politics. I know Nigel Farage well, I know Kwasi Kwarteng well, I know quite a lot of politicians. And, probably 20,000 of my followers at some point have said, Rob, you should be Prime Minister.
Amazing.
My business partner says, well, that would be ridiculous, as in for who I am. But I can't just be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I can't physically go and just be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So, there's the logistical political process, which is completely in favour of who's in, and completely not in favour who's not in. But you have the Donald Trump syndrome, where Donald Trump really, in the modern world, proved that you don't have to be a politician, and you can become successful. And Arnold Schwarzenegger did it as well, didn't he? With running for California, and so it's possible. And in today's world, your influence really counts. Like Nigel Farage has massive influence. He has more social medias than all the other parties and all the other MPs put together, and that really counts for something. Yeah. And so obviously Ant and some of his friends who did the rally and stuff like that, they have a lot of influence. So that I'm positive about. I mean, look, if you're asking me, who would I prefer to be my mayor of London, Sadiq Khan or Ant Middleton? Ant Middleton all day long. And Ant Middleton is completely unproven in politics, because I really think Sadiq is doing a bad job. And the more I see come out, the more it scares and worries me about his motives. But take that aside. You just look at, if a CEO of a company is making losses, the board will fire the CEO. Let's look at London. London couldn't be more fucked. Yeah. There's the proof. Yeah. So he is mayor of London. London is fucked. All the billionaires are leaving. Property prices are... Mayfair's down 50%. Everyone ran to London 15 years ago. Everyone's running away to Dubai and UAE now. Crime... He fudges the crime figures. It's obvious crime's going up. Everyone knows it. Petty crime is basically legal. 3% successful conviction on rape. Like homeless people everywhere. So I know Ant and I like Ant, so I always say that. Just like I know Nigel and like Nigel. Their challenge is... They've never been... Well, Nigel has never run a country and Ant has never been a politician. And if he gets in, it will be really hard for him to pass any legislation whatsoever. Yeah. And of course, he's not going to... I mean, what party is he representing?
It was Reform, wasn't it? But hasn't he come out of it?
Well, I mean, whatever party is representing now, they're not getting in.
No.
Yeah, it's complicated.
And I think it's like values. I think why, are very much like Ant, very much like Nigel. And it's almost down to values, isn't it? And it's the same with a lot of what Trump says. It's they want this, not that, because of what they stand by. And I think Ant will do a phenomenal job in, everything he stands for. And I'd like to think that if, because obviously it does happen, I'd like to think that if anybody came to Ant and went, well, actually, no, mate, this is how we do things, he would tell them to fuck off.
You see,
you'd like to think.
It's a bit, sometimes I hear people who haven't got kids saying how they'll raise their kids. Well, let's wait until you've had kids.
Yeah.
So, I was talking to Kwasi Kwarteng yesterday, who was the past Chancellor of this country. And he says the problem is you get in and then you can't pass any legislation through. You just get stopped at the House of Lords or wherever. It's just like really difficult. You've got this very set in its ways system. You've got this very bloated civil service. Liz Truss, she reckons that the civil service run the country. So you have to get rid of most of the civil servants. So all I'm saying, look, do I want a change of the Mayor of London? Yeah. Do I want a change of who's running the UK? Yeah. Do I want more what I would deem to be honest people? Yeah. And sometimes that needs to be not much political experience, because sometimes politics attracts, those kind of people. Of course. Do I want people who support business and entrepreneurship? Yeah. Do I want people who, want an identity and a culture for Great Britain? Yeah. But it's going to be hard.
Yeah. And I think it's all being knocked, like everyone, it's almost worse than it's ever been at the moment, I would like to say.
Well, don't forget, though, in our generation, I mean, we haven't gone through World War I or World War II. And this is just like cyclical. It always happens. Yeah. If you watch the films, if you watch Peaky Blinders and you see the episodes where where fascism is brewing in these underground basements where there's these rallies going on. Well, I'm not saying fascism is brewing now, but one or two popular people are very far right. I think far right is weaponized rhetoric by the far left.
Yeah.
And actually, I would say surely 99% of those millions of marchers, not 100,000, those millions of marchers, most of those are ordinary people. They're not far-right extremists. No. You're going to get a few there, and we have to be careful. And, I know recently Nigel Farage distanced himself from Tommy Robinson. And, I know a lot of people support Tommy Robinson and what he's doing. I'm not going to advise Tommy Robinson anything. He knows what he's doing. But I would say he needs to. I'm going to give him some advice. Just be careful not to behave in a way that attracts, racists or fascists or far right people. Yeah. How can you be more right but not far right? And Nigel had to distance himself from Tommy Robinson, and he got a load of flack from Elon Musk for it. Because you need Middle England. Yeah. And, and so I don't know, maybe Tommy's got some good PR. I think he's got a great opportunity to be really influential. But I think he just needs to be just a bit cleaner. That's just my view. He might not care or listen to me. He's got some decent people around him. But yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah. And why do you think all them people went to that march? Because like you've just said then, the 100,000 people, but you look at the videos and it looks a hell of a lot more than that.
Well, look, Sky and BBC are saying 100 to 150,000. Some of them there were saying 3 million.
Yeah.
It's neither of those figures. But look at it. I think most people went because they're pissed off with the UK. Yeah. That's why I think most people went.
Yeah.
And mainstream media conveniently tarnished it as, far rights where, there was violence towards the police. That looks like bollocks.
Yeah. Because you look back a few weeks ago, I think they had a Palestinian one in London. And they were fighting with the police on every single corner. but nothing about that was ever posted. Yet all the videos about it were on TikTok by people who were there. But it never got mass reported the way that a couple of people got into a scrap on a corner in London this just weekend. But they never reported that. They never reported all the Palestine stuff, people getting into scraps.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you think about it, right, if you are mainstream media, which is dying, and, like 20 of those people that were there at that rally, and myself included in this, have more followers now than most of these mainstream media. So, fear screams loudest when it's dying. Mainstream media is dying. So actually, people at that march should take it as a compliment when mainstream media are, underplaying or brandishing it far right. So, that's the reality of what's going on.
Yeah, and it's very easy for someone to brand something. And I think you get it on LinkedIn quite a lot when people say, good example, people speaking about the migration stuff at the moment. If you say anything about that isn't let them all come over, you're seen as far right, which actually...
Well, actually, you're seen as racist.
Yeah.
Because there's far right, but without saying racist, and then there's racist. And I haven't talked about immigration because of this, but fuck it, I'm going to. As far as I'm concerned, we should support some refugees. There are always refugees, and some need our help.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to help other nations.
Absolutely not.
Some, a small amount.
Yeah.
Then on the other extreme, if someone comes here and can bring value and wants to work and wants to build and wants to create and wants to employ, then we should embrace that. Because actually London has done that for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's doing the opposite now. It's sending everyone away. But there's this big chunk in the middle where people are getting in really easy. There's no real qualification process. And they're bringing all their family and they're immediately going on to benefits. And it looks very political as to why that's being allowed to happen.
And why do you
that
think
needs
that
to be
is being
controlled? Well, there's lots of theories.
What do you
look,
think
okay, so there's lots of theories.
Yeah.
If you are ultimately a socialist, you believe on taking money from the rich and giving it to the vulnerable. It's what you ultimately believe. So working class and below are vulnerable. Rich, fuck them. Take all the money off them because they don't provide any value. They just steal and pillage and, they
employ thousands of people.
Yeah, exactly. and pay all the tax.
Yeah.
But so if you're fundamentally of a socialist Marxist belief, which is, all the state revenue is created by the state, when in fact I believe all the state revenue is created by the entrepreneurs, the capitalists. Yep. If you fundamentally believe that, then you want to help the vulnerable and you want to take as much money as you can off the rich. So that's, everyone coming in, they're a struggling family, blah, blah, blah. So that's one theory. Another theory is just to sort of manipulate population data. Because ultimately this is about votes and we don't have anywhere near enough people to financially look after the baby boomers and the aging population. And we should have had a campaign 2 decades ago, which is basically get everyone fucking. Everyone needed to fuck right? all the time. Like, I remember it used to be cool. It used to be the average 2.4 children. There was a TV series, I'm too old, but it was a TV series called 2.4 Children.
Right.
And basically, the average number of children that people were having when I was a kid is 2.4. Now it's 1.3.
Mm.
So, but we've got this booming aging population because people are older and older and older and older. We do not have we have a massive deficit of money to look after the aging population. And you need young people working to pay for the older people. So bring in a load of immigrants and you can fudge those figures. There's lots of theories.
Yeah.
I want to be humble enough to say, I'm not at the court. I don't know. No one knows. Everyone thinks they know. But both of those theories stand to be fairly reasonable for me. But, when it becomes obvious that every hotel is overrun by asylum seekers and the state of the streets is going into ruin and your national identity is, being eroded, then in the end you have to go, well, when is this enough?
Yeah.
I'm not, I actually think one of the great things about London is its cosmopolitan nature. We have, you've got Indians, Jewish people, Chinese people, Italians, all created amazing little hubs and communities in London and in Peterborough, where I'm from, that all bring basically it's like, Britain is great because we are cosmopolitan, and as long as you come in and add value, this is a great place to be, and we'll grow together.
Yeah.
And that attitude helped me become an entrepreneur, become a millionaire, age 30.
Yeah.
But that's all fucked now. Because we've forgotten what British is.
Yeah.
And we're not discerning about who we let in.
So we have sort of two sides to it. So I have, cut a long story short, the interpreter who I was with in Afghan. So he was from Afghanistan. He now lives in Telford.
Yeah.
It was a crazy story, but, he wanted a better life. His family got assassinated in front of him. His wife and his kids by the Taliban when they took back over, went to the British Embassy. They put him on a flight to the UK, now lives in Telford. We got in touch with him in the end. A mate of mine seen him in the town centre, burst into tears, got his number. Everyone tried chipping in and helping him. I offered him to do a podcast. I said, listen, you did exactly the same as what we did over there, and you've lost everything because of it. Let me do a podcast with you. We'll start a GoFundMe and try and raise some money for you and give you the life that you deserve for what you did. And he said, Rich, I can't. He said, the same day you upload that podcast, I will be dead. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, these people that are coming over, he said, they're not nice people. And he said, one day somebody will hit the button and that will be it. He said, but if I do a podcast with you today and you uploaded it, I'll be dead by this evening.
Wow.
And that's, from the horse's mouth. But, we have, if you ever look into Google, if you Google Al Mahdi cult in Crewe, where I'm from, that's scary. So he's bought an old orphanage. The guy who's running it reckons he's the Messiah. He's bought an old orphanage for £3.5 million. He's got over 300 people there. They've had to sell all their assets, absolutely everything that they've got. They've got militant guys walking around in berets and that on the door. They've got their own religion, the religion of peace and light or whatever it is. Now, he's wanted in Sweden and everywhere else. Germany, got kicked out of Germany. He's wanted places for terrorism. And the police will not go to this orphanage because they're scared. And I don't understand why. Do you know what I mean? Like we literally have, and one thing I talk about all the time is, we've got over 5,000 people who are ex-forces living on the streets of the UK. Surely there's a few hotels for people there to sort that problem before anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And I just don't see the narrative. I don't see why we're doing that as a country, as a patriotic country. Like one thing Charlie Kirk said, he says, I hope that Britain can return to what it was as a patriotic country. America is the way it is because of Britain. And I don't know why. I don't know why we're going down that route.
No, well, I don't either. So you can only guess.
Yeah.
And, with the whole rape gang scandal, there were some theories, because they were theories, that, maybe it was politically damaging for the incumbent parties to expose it, or maybe some of those fraternities have very powerful positions, or maybe the police is just lacking enough funding, or maybe the police is just there's a bit of corruption in the senior parts of it. Everyone goes on X and tells you what it is. It's not just one race and religion that does all the murdering and the rape.
No, absolutely.
That's a human thing, and we have to be careful because there's plenty of good people from all races. I don't know. What I'd love to see is some strong leadership in the police from people who care about doing the right thing and don't worry about upsetting anyone in the process. So, for example, if someone who's on the streets goes in and nicks 20 quid's worth of food in Costa, you arrest that person and you put them in prison for 6 months.
Yep.
And there'll be uproar about that, but no one's going to do that again.
They're letting them just do it though,
yeah,
aren't
well,
they?
do you know
I've seen
what?
the video.
Basically, if theft is under 200 quid, it's not theft. So basically, theft under 200 quid is legal. So think about this. Why would you work if you're on the streets if you can nick £199.99?
You can earn 200 quid a day legally.
Yeah, by nicking it.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't even blame these people. Like the system is wrong.
Yeah.
And, like, in Dubai, you can leave your Rolex on the table, and if you leave it there and walk away, someone will walk up to you and give it to you.
Yeah.
Because if you nick that, like, if you're
off.
caught with drugs in Dubai, you're in prison for 20 years. Yeah. Now, some people say, well, that's really wrong. You know, that's too much of a big of a crime,
but
a punishment for the crime. But no one else is going to do it.
Yeah.
So there's not enough strong leadership. And, you have to take a few people who are clear criminals and you have to throw the book at them. Yeah. Like 500 years ago, if someone came to your village and fucked with your people, you would get them and you'd put them 15 foot up and you crucify them in 100%. Front of everyone and probably skin them afterwards, or you might even skin them alive, because that's the warning for everyone else.
Yeah.
Now we just go, why don't you come and sleep with our wives? Why don't you come and have all of our food? Why don't you stay in our hotels for free?
It's wild.
What the fuck?
And I think, like...
But this is like woke leadership that we've got. Yeah. We don't have strong... Winston Churchill wouldn't have stood for this shit.
No.
So it starts at the top, but also it's the system.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I think the world's changed with that. I think, looking at Andrew Tate, his, maybe not everything he says is right, but he doesn't say stuff that's that much different to how my granddad thought. Back in that time, he very much didn't move with the times, but the rest of the world moved on with what their beliefs were, but he didn't. And I think is that right or is that wrong? Where people, have perhaps moved on and left those values and stuff like that with that generation. Like, I think that's where people a lot take him wrong in what he says. But that's no different to how people used to think. And was the world a better place then? Probably was. And yeah, I just think it's a bonkers world, and you just got to be so careful what you say now. It's a very weird place. Very weird place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what, I know you've posted it about, talking about Dubai and potentially moving to Dubai. What would stop you from moving to Dubai? What would have to happen for Rob Moore and all of his businesses? What would have to change in the UK for you to stay?
Taxes need to come down, or at least spending needs to be cut so the taxes that I'm paying yield some value to me. My dad was really ill over the last few months, and it was an absolute nightmare going through the NHS. Now, I could have paid for private, but my mum and dad didn't want that. And the NHS is supposed to be like the envy of the world. So if the NHS is great, if our roads are well kept and there's not too much traffic and you don't get fined every time you move, and the streets are safe and clean, then you don't mind paying your fair share in tax. But if none of that is present, you begrudge paying tax, and then when it goes up and up and up, it gets worse and worse and worse. So number one, for me to stay long term, is they have to get control of taxes. That's number one. Number two is they have to stop alienating successful people.
Yeah.
Surely what you want in a country is an attitude that anyone can be successful. Like, no matter your background, your race, your religion, no matter how hard it's been, if you work hard, if you're smart, if you go to these institutions that we've built, like great universities, then you can become successful. Surely that is the attitude and culture that you want.
Yeah.
And Great Britain and London and the UK always had that. Now it's Dubai. And Dubai are smart. They go, no, you're a creator. Come and get a 10-year golden visa. Pay virtually nothing. Oh, you're paying all this tax in the UK. Come over to Dubai. You can pay nothing where we are. So I think services need to improve. Taxes need to go down. And I just think we need a better mood.
Yeah.
But, I was just on BBC this morning being interviewed, and it's like, of all the things that are wrong, where do we need to start? We need to start with the economy.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if things aren't going well, but you've got enough money, you'll put up with it. If things aren't going well, and you haven't got any money, everything goes wrong. And in my local co-op now, they're locking up cheese in boxes.
Seen that. And
steaks
as well.
They're putting security tags on bars of Galaxy. The world is fucked when they're locking up boxes of cheese. Next, I'll be getting some ham and there'll be 2 fucking security guards there with guns for fucking 6 slices of ham. Like, this is like, wake up. And normally what happens, like over history, is, good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. So what we've had cyclically is for 20 or 30 years, we've had pretty good times. Like if you look at all the markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, we had some strong Thatcher leadership. When Thatcher came in, it was all a mess. She was a strong leader. She sorted shit out. And so we've ridden off the back of these good times, but good times create weak men or weak leaders or weak people. Wokeism. And so now you're seeing the pendulum swift the other way. Why have you got people like Donald Trump in power? Why have you got people like Ant Middleton and Nigel Farage and Andrew Tate becoming really popular? Because they have more right-leaning views and they are stronger characters, and it is the pendulum swing the other way from, you can be whatever gender you want, and if you've got a penis, you can still walk into the ladies' toilets and do whatever you want.
Which is just,
in the end, a strong male goes, serious. That's wrong.
Yeah.
So, like, what it would take for me to stay is strength of leadership in this country.
Yeah. And do you think that is round the corner? Do you think that could happen with, I don't know who you would vote for, but say if, Nigel
I don't mind saying I would vote for reform. I don't mind saying I would vote for reform right now. Yeah. But of course, a lot's going to happen in 3.5 years.
Of course.
I know Nigel, I like Nigel, and I think he's a strong character. And I think he does genuinely believe and support in small business. And I think he does genuinely care about the UK. And it's very useful that he's got a very good relationship with Trump and America, because you need that.
And I think a lot
in the UK.
If he did get into that, I think a lot of what Trump does would filter into the UK.
Maybe,
through Nigel.
Maybe. The problem, as I said, is the political system. The political system is stuck. It's like getting in a car and you're like, you've got to pull a choke. You've got 4 gears. It doesn't start when it's cold. You got to, chug it up when it. Yeah, exactly. And so the political system needs reform is a good name for that party, because the entire political system needs reforming.
Yeah. So just before we stop, then, what would the future look like for yourself? What have you still got left to do? I know one thing you always say at events is you've not scratched the surface yet. What is left to do for you?
Well, I'm 46. I'm not even halfway through my life. I've just started warming up. You're talking like I'm a fucking 80-year-old.
No. But because I say that because you've done a lot already with your you've done a lot more than what most people have already done very successfully.
Yeah.
Like if there's something left for you there to do that you perhaps haven't done yet.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Well, look, I've written 19 books, and my books are on many different entrepreneurial subjects. But for the next, certainly 5 years, and maybe for my life, I'm going to focus on writing books about helping people get better financial education. Yeah. So my current book is called Money.School. I think my next book will be called Money is Everything. And I'm going to write and teach as many people on the planet to get better financial knowledge, to make, manage, and multiply more money.
Yeah.
So I would say that could be my entire life's work. I have a property portfolio and we're buying lots of big properties right now because it's a great time, because a lot of them are really cheap. And I've got the UK's largest property and business training company, and I still think that can grow globally. So
absolutely.
Still got lots of work to do in both of those areas. My Money.School, which I think gives you better financial knowledge than you'll get in school.
And is that similar to the Rob.Team, or is that something completely different?
No. It's what Rob.Team was.
Right.
So it's now called money.school. We have 13,000 lifetime members. If anyone wants to make manager multiply money and they want to pay 50p a day instead of 15 grand a year, which is what it costs you to go to uni, the link is money.school. I'm putting a lot more of my time into improving the quality of people, the quality of content. Because I've been doing this for 20 years, and I don't want to wait till I'm 80 to give back. And it is seriously lacking the financial knowledge in schools. Like, okay, if you do economics, you'll learn the theory of inflation, but you won't know the reality of inflation on personal finances. You won't learn about how to manage your money emotions. No one will teach you that in economics. More and more now behavioral economics is taking over economics, i.e. human nature is involved. But if you have bad spending habits, no one's teaching you how to overcome those bad spending habits. No one's teaching you, how to invest well at school specifically. Like, why aren't they getting us to open investment accounts, age 8 and 10? Instead, the banks are trying to get us to open bank accounts age 4 because they want us in debt for the rest of our life. So this is what I'm going to be working on for the next 50 years, money.school.
Amazing. And I'll completely vouch for that. Like, your events that you do, that's where I've first sort of seen you. A friend had bought one of your courses and he'd said it helped him tenfold. And them events, the Money Matrix events, are absolutely brilliant. And I've taken so much and know so many different people who've taken so much away from those events, like that have helped them in business, even personal life, and sort of everything in between. So I think if people are looking to go and I've done lots of mentoring courses before, and that really has got me from one place to the other. And just touching on mentoring just before we finish, a lot of people think that mentoring is a lot of money for what it is, but actually I know full well that if I didn't go on a certain mentoring course that I did, I would never have left my normal job and gone into what I'm doing today, earning a lot more than I was then. But having that there taught me through experience, like you said, you've done this a long time, taught me what to do and how to do it for the sake of 12 grand, taught me how to go away and do that. And without doing that, I wouldn't have done. And that all started from going to sort of, events like yourself and Rob.team and stuff like that. So I'd say to anyone, if anybody is looking to, even break away from the job, that start with, events like yours, even the books. You go on Amazon today and purchase one, listen to the audiobook, and you'll be well away.
Yeah, probably Money is the one where most people start on with mine. There's a couple of quotes which really ring true around this. And the first one is, smart people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from the mistakes of other people. And it's kind of culturally inbuilt into hard-working British people, because not all are, that you got to hustle, you got to work hard, you got to outwork everyone else. You learn from your mistakes, you keep making mistakes until you succeed. You try, you fail, you try, you fail, you try, you fail, you try, you fail. Well, that's one way of doing it. Another way is, thanks to the internet and social media and podcasts and YouTube, you go and research some people for free online at no risk. Maybe you resonate with me, Rob Moore. Maybe you resonate with some of the American guys. Some of them are my friends. But you'll resonate with someone who you're like, they're the real deal. And then you can read their books for tens of pounds, join their membership sites like money.school for tens of pounds. Maybe they run a course for hundreds or in the low thousands of pounds. But if you buy a bad property in the wrong area, that could cost you 50 grand. And you may never buy a property ever again because you fucked it up the first time. And you just said, 12 grand can get you a lot. That could get you a lot of courses and a mastermind. So, stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, that quote goes back thousands of years. For me, I'm the same as you. I would not have made my money myself. I proved that when I was given autonomy by myself to do things myself, I got into 50 grand's worth of debt. But as soon as I got my first mentor, who's now my business partner, Mark Homer, and we got other mentors like James Kahn from Dragon's Den, and then the billionaires that we've got. As soon as I got other mentors, I'd have stupid ideas and they'd tell me they're stupid ideas. They'd give me good ideas and then they'd keep me accountable to implementing those good ideas. I've been on some courses that costs less than this 80-inch TV. And, you know, let's imagine someone moves into a new home. What's the first thing they think? Oh, I want a 60-inch TV.
Yeah.
I'm
going to go to Curry's and get one on finance.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another thing. I want a 60-inch propaganda machine to watch mainstream media. And I'll go down Curry's and I'll get 5 years worth of debt for it. And they'll think nothing about that.
Yeah.
But what about an educational course?
That after
to
3
teach
months.
them. Yeah, you can learn AI for a few £100. You can learn property investing for a few £1,000. And of course, there's schemers and scammers out there, but there is in everything that you do. That's why you do a bit of research.
A bit of due diligence to find out who.
Yeah, exactly. And if you watch 10 or 50 episodes on someone, you're soon going to figure it out.
Yeah.
The dots are going to join.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah. And, even social media now, social media, people don't understand how much money you can actually make just through Facebook, TikTok and YouTube actually paying you. You know, within a year's time of posting something consistently every single day, you could be making good money. And all of a sudden you've got all your time there to do other things, whatever you wanted to do.
Well, imagine this, right? Imagine 25 years ago I came to you and I said, this billionaire has spent 100 billion setting up this online community, on the internet that's just launched. And there's 2 billion users. And you get to set up a free account. You can go in, connect with all these people around the world, and you can sell them your shit. And you don't have to pay a membership or a subscription. You don't even have to pay any commission. You can just go in there and raid that group for free that billionaire set up and spent 100 billion on. That's called Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there's X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Reddit, Rumble, and all the others, all competing with each other, all set up by billionaires, all backed by Peter Thiel or BlackRock, with hundreds of billions put into each, and you can go and use them all for free and get paid. And people go, oh, fucking social media.
Yeah.
Rob said you got to post every day on social media. Can't be asked.
What the fuck? Like, what more?
You can take a horse to water, but you can't.
That's like me taking a £1 million in a holdall to your house and giving it to you, and you'd be going, I can't be asked to go down the bank, pay it in. Yeah. Although you couldn't pay it in now. Yeah. You couldn't even pay in £1,000. But come on, everyone.
Yeah.
It's 2025. It's easier than ever to make money. Now, I know the overall mood is low. I know the overall country is not running well. But in terms of starting a business and being an entrepreneur, making money, the UK is still probably second to America, the best place in the world to do it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still here.
Yeah. Mate, well, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate that. And it's been a long time coming. But mate, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.